Hey, so we're remodeling the house, and I just got rid of a bunch of books. So I figured now would be a good time to record a video like this, a bookshelf tour, just to kind of archive a sliver of my taste and who I am, so I can return to it years come in the future. And I figured I'd put it up here too, because why not? So hopefully it provides some entertainment to someone besides me. Alright. Alright, here's a full sweep, top to bottom, and I'll kick things off. So this here, or well, I guess I'll start even here. This is a geode that I use as a book holder. The other piece is over here. Got that from my uncle like a decade ago. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. But to kick things off with the books, here is the complete collection of Winston McCay's classic Little Nemo series. Both serializations of it. I got this at the Locust Moon Comic Festival in 2014 or 15, the only festival or convention I've really ever been to. And pretty awesome. There's a few other things here from there. This here is my expertly censored high school yearbook, which we won't really discuss. This here, which would take a little while to pull out, is a old like 2000s anime magazine that my friend Allie gave me. It's pretty interesting to go back and look at these like old kind of advertisements. There's particularly this really funny section of like reviews just from editors of like Slain, and then just random stuff that I've never heard of, and weird kind of comedy OVAs. But one of the reviewers is like LARPing as like an anime character in one part. It's interesting. But tons of neat stuff and some Bubblegum Crisis stuff. And the back end has just like a bunch of chapters of manga, which is, I don't know, pretty cool. Very like interesting period to return to. Very different from the fandom I grew up in. Here's a People's History of the American Empire, given to me by my godfather and godmother. I've still yet to read it, I'm sorry. Here is My Favorite Things Are Monsters, which is a book that I haven't read in a long time, but is great, and is particularly great art. They also, I believe, did the cover for Ted Leo's The Hanged Man album. Great album cover, pretty solid album, great, incredible musician. Here is the first collected volume of Hellsing, which is kind of modeled to look like a Bible. Mildly corny, but it also has like the tassel that you can find in the Bible up here. It's pretty awesome. Here is an Akira Toriyama Dragon Ball art book, a bunch of just splash pages and chapter openings and stuff. Art that wasn't published along with the manga in its run and stuff. Great. Deadly Class, another comic that I still haven't read somehow, but the art is pretty great. The Nausicaä manga, I need to finish this. Nausicaä, fantastic movie. This volume of the manga is great. I want to read it all. Shiro Miwa art book, a lot of like character design work and stuff that she did over the years for a variety of series. Some originals of hers, some animes. There's like Kisniver stuff, dogs. There's Ruby stuff even. This is great. This is a gift from my aunt. Here is another comic. This one's called Odessa. It's like an apocalyptic series. It's neat. I like a lot of graphic novels and comics and stuff that use just use one color for all of their shading. And this is a great example of that. This was a Christmas gift from my father. It's pretty excellent. Bluffton. This is one of my favorite comic books of all time. This was something I read as a young child, but this is a great comic about Buster Keaton as a child. Really cool. Aria the Masterpiece. Need to finish. Baller. Here's another thing I got at that comic convention. It is Introducing the Amazing Rocket Head, a comic that I don't know if it continued past this volume, but pretty rad, pretty funny. Goodnight Poon Poon. Hard to find. Inio Sano is awesome. It's probably my favorite of his. Sneeze, a collection by Naoki Urasawa. Pretty interesting. There's this one really neat little piece that's just kind of these autobio shorts of him talking about interacting with different famous celebrities and collaborators of other celebrities. You know, he's obviously big into rock, American rock, 60s, 70s, 20th Century Boys, obviously evident of this. Real, the truly best Takehiko Inoue series. Way better than Vagabond, I must say. Brilliant. Which had a Atelier. I caught up to this series a few years ago. Way behind now. Excellent artwork. Really interesting paneling. Really cool series. Girls Last Tour. One of the greatest of ever. Here it is. Tsukimizu. Yeah. Fuck no, it wasn't. Fire Punch, Tatsuki Fujimoto, a fantastic one. I have volume 8 kind of randomly. I think I just got this one because I had read it online and I was like, I want a copy in print. And this one has a great cover, but really emotional work. This Detective Germain here was a gift from my grandmother many, many years ago. She actually got it signed by the author for me. Super cute, very cute art. I don't know if this one continued either. I haven't read it since I first got it, but I don't know. Very special memory of mine on this book. Chainsaw Man, classic, banger. Part 1, incredible. Part 2, incredible. Really fun. Been reading this one since it basically started. Again, I think I just got volume 3 because the cover is cool. Kind of can communicate. I used to be really into the series. Now I'm pretty far behind, though I've read like 300 chapters or something. But super cute. The start is especially funny. There are some really gut-bursting moments and some really cute stuff all throughout it. I think I got this one because it was the only one that the bookstore had at the time. But it's pretty awesome. Spy Family, super cute, deserves its success. I'm not as big a fan as other people, but it's pretty great. Ranma 1/2. This series, probably my favorite romantic comedy series of all time. Just incredible fun. The middle section kind of drags, and the ending is disappointing, of course, but it's just, I don't know, it's so consistently hilarious and charming and funny. And Takahashi is, she's a master of her craft. School of World. I got this one also at the comic convention, the Locust Moon one. This was my introduction to webcomics. I got to meet the author and artist there. I wish this series was continuing. Adorable, hilarious. I think you can still read it all on Tumblr if you want. Kind of introduced me to the idea that you can publish something in a sketchier version than you would make if you had all the time in the world, and still be proud of that and still be content with that. And sketchiness is so important to that series, I feel like. So I don't know. That meant a lot to me when I was 10, I guess. Fulikuli Omnibus, just as good as the anime, dare I say. Basically perfect. Just outstanding and innovative paneling in this one. I take Crossblade. This series has a character with the same birthday as me. I've only read volume 3. I think I pretty much only have this volume because of that character with the same birthday as me. But yeah, my dad got me this. Kush Comics. These are Latvian. These are collections of a lot of different artists, short comics, not always Latvian artists, but they're all kind of abstract, interesting. Yeah, it's cool. Indie comics are always fun to read. This is a rock that I got from someone. It's nice, it's cool. And then we of course have Homers. 3 classics. I read these in college, but they're great books. People still read them for a reason. They're fun to talk about in class, and the side of it is it's just a great box. Moving finally down to the next layer of this shelf, let's start off with these 2 cups. Here, I keep them in a box when I'm at home. Go to college, I put them on display. This one I have matching with my lovely girlfriend, and this one is just for Ed. Next, I have my very small DVD and Blu-ray collection. Up at the top, we got K-On! The complete series. Fantastic, meant so much to me when I watched it in high school. Dear Brother, Osamu Dezaki is just brilliant. One of my favorite anime on a visual level. Castle Cagliostro, banger. Lupin is so good. Akira, it's fantastic. I got the manga over there. Um, but yeah, it's great. Not as good as the manga, but incredible. I'm going to have Big Trouble in Necron China. I think I like this more than most people do. I thought it was funny. Is it definitely just like a collection of the most basic, like, running gags in the franchise just thrown at you in rapid succession? Yes. But that's kind of funny. It's been like a year since I finished the manga when I watched it, so I enjoyed it. Top secret. Great movie, hilarious. And then season 3 of Deep Gray Man. I don't think I actually made it that far in the show, but Deep Gray Man is one of my all-time favorites. It was a huge obsession for me when I was in middle and high school. Then we have here 3 volumes of Gone. This series has just phenomenal art. It's unlike anything else I've ever read in both its kind of page structure and its lack of speech bubbles. Really fun, very funny. Dr. Slump. This is the only volume I've read, but it's pretty great. Toriyama is deserving of all the respect and popularity good deserved. Mob Psycho 100, one of my all-time favorites. Dare I say, the manga is better than the anime. It's true. Toriko is super fun. I read most of this series when I was way younger. It's obviously taking huge influence from One Piece. Super fun time. Murakami, this is one of the things that I read a lot when I was younger, and I'm incredibly far behind on now, but I was recommended this one by my cousins across the sea in Latvia. Hope they're doing well. Got me a good recommendation. Dotora Quest, again, hugely important to me when I was younger in like elementary and middle school. These are the only 2 volumes I own physically, but my local library had the complete series, and I've read them all back then. I watched half the show with my sister too, which is a little different, but still very entertaining. Fairy Tail, a series that I also haven't finished. This year's the last volume I ever read. Returning to it, I've been, not quite as enthralled with it as I once was younger, but it is still, I still remember it incredibly fondly, and there's just so many, like, fun and entertaining pieces and jokes that I think about sometimes still, and Frosh is, like, peak of anything. Frosh is incredible. Parasite, one of the first, like, seinen series I read. I think when I first read it, I was a little more into it than I maybe would be now on a reread, but it's, it deserves its status as a classic. Barakamon, this series is awesome and hilarious, super cute. I read this one a lot with my sister when we were both younger. I really want to catch up with it. It still holds up, it's still super funny, still scenes that I remember very clearly. Carnival, this series is like, I said, just some incredible character designs and character art, and there's some like random pieces that I remember very clearly, but it's been way too many years. I need to finish it. Monster, Sneeze I have above. I got more Naoki Urasawa stuff on the shelf. He's one of my favorites of all time, and this series is just a masterpiece. Just phenomenal. I got my mom to read some of this one too, even, which is a little rare. Vinland Saga is great. I love manga and hardcover. This series is awesome. Farmland Saga is fantastic as well. Just great all the way through. Vagabond, again, I think I mentioned that I'm not quite as big into Vagabond as some people are. I want to give it a proper, like, full read-through sometimes still, just because of how, like, influential and respected it is, but yeah, I don't know, it's just not my deal. Peck on Concrete, this is another gift from my godparents. This series is just really interesting in its blending of, like, American comic looks and Japanese manga look. Akira, it's perfect. It's incredible. Otomo is a genius. It's a masterpiece for the art alone, but then you have a fantastic story to go with it. It's like everything you could ever need. Incredible read, recommended to everyone. Up here we have the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, something I've recently read, but was really into. It has kind of like a edgy Saturday morning cartoon kind of feeling to it, where it'll have these like very grim kind of premises to the like monster of the week sort of mystery stories, but then the characters are all very like kind of dry and mundane, and that keeps it from being so, like, edgy. It just gives it this very, like, casual tone despite the, like, grim nature of everything surrounding it. Below that, I have another gift from my father, number 5, which I have yet to read, but the art is awesome. Satoshi Kon's opus. Satoshi Kon is a master and deserves all the respect he gets. His manga is great too, and the ending is soul-crushing in the parallels between Kon's passing into the real world and the fourth wall breaking finale, where he appears. Heavenly Delusion. I am a big fan of this author's other work, and yet the town moves. I'm really happy that Heavenly Delusion has been having all the success it has been recently, though. It's great. I need to read more. Up here we have 2 books from the last 2 North American Latvian Song and Dance Festivals, which I participated in. You can flip through all the dancers and singers there. It's pretty cool, pretty fun. Good memento. These here are 2 gifts from my girlfriend. We have on top this cool book about Alfred Hitchcock and his movies. Lots of great production photos and screen caps and information about influences upon him and artists that he influenced. And then also this book she got me, which is in French, about Modigliani, who is cool. There was a great exhibit about Modigliani at the Barnes Foundation recently. Alright, and down one more level, there is Astro Boy and Pluto. Astro Boy is great. It's super entertaining. I've read it all as a kid, and it deserves a reread now that it's been years since then. But there's tons of scenes and images that are like burned into my mind from then. The show I watched too as a kid, not quite as much, but still super entertaining. Worth revisiting both for its historical influence and significance, and also just because it rocks. Pluto is fantastic. One of the best arcs in Astro Boy, adapted phenomenally by a genius. Urasawa is great. Dorohedoro is one of the most entertaining reads that you could possibly encounter, with some of the best art in any manga. Really fun, and Shin and Noi are just awesome. Barefoot Gen is a really harrowing series, but has some very interesting typesetting. It's in Comic Sans, and not always does the text so satisfyingly fit within the speech bubbles, but this series is really striking and really powerful nonetheless. Definitely give it a read. To Your Eternity is something I read a few years ago. I read a lot of it, and it really struck me back then. I definitely like it more than A Silent Voice, to be honest. It's great. The anime kind of disappointed me though. Then there's Mujirushi, Sign of Dreams. I haven't read this one in a while, but I was also kind of disappointed by this one. I feel like it kind of doesn't quite have that grandiose, spiraling mystery sort of narrative that makes so much of Naoki Urasawa's other work so compelling. It tries to condense that into like one volume format, and it just doesn't really do it for me. And then here we have my collection of Domon Seimon stuff. How Many Light Years to Babylon is really fun, really creative. That is one that feels like a true journey despite being in one volume. Domon Seimon's artwork, of course, incredible. Perfect mixture of really cute designs and then like angular, sharp edges. Just great. And then The Voynich Hotel, which is an absurd series, really funny, but has this consistently kind of very normal and very compelling, like, romantic story that drives through all of it. Great read. And then Yatsuba, the greatest manga of all time. I have read all of it. I got into it when I was really young, younger than Enna, reading it at my local library, and it's so funny, it's so cute. And then as I've read it, aging past all the characters, growing up alongside them, it's been really interesting to see myself in different characters on rereads, and to see how, like, incredibly accurately the series portrays how people of different ages interact with children. Just incredible. One of the best things of all time. Then we have Soul Eater, which is really fun, really great. The manga also kind of jumps the shark around where the anime does for me, I think. but just a really entertaining, really cool series with fantastic artwork. The Promised Neverland I loved a lot when I first read it. I loved the art a lot when I first read it too. I think that's had some influence on me. I have like 10 chapters left before the finale. I just have put it off for like a year now. But it's pretty baller. It's pretty baller. Above that we have The Girl from the Other Side, which I need to read more of. This was recommended to me by my high school friend Sebastian, and it's really cute. The artwork is fantastic too. Then we have Bakuman, which is my favorite of Tsugumi Oba and Takashi Obata collaboration works. Super informative, engaging, entertaining, incredible artwork. I think probably the best of theirs on a visual level. Just fun on like a meta level too. To read a series about Shonen Jump, published in Shonen Jump, see them do the things that the characters say that they need to do, like in the series, in reality as well. Great. I'm reading this one now. There's Apollo's Song by Osamu Tezuka. This series is really interesting. I think it has some very compelling concepts throughout it, and sometimes the execution fails to emotionally grip me, but still. Cool read. Some kind of outdated understanding of love and gender as well, but yeah, really interesting read. Tezuka never makes boring stuff. And then I have a recent purchase of mine, Talk to My Back, which is an 80s series with some really cool artwork that I definitely will be checking out soon. Alright, this shelf has some stacks here, so we'll go through these first and then move through them. We have this book, gift for me from my sister. Really want to read it. Collection of sci-fi shorts. I somehow haven't. Stop Waiting for Perfect. This is a book I got for free from my university, but it is by a university graduate. I saw her speak on the book at a lecture. I like going to just lectures around campus. It was a pretty inspiring talk. Seems like a fun read. Anarchism and Education. I've read a little bit of. Interesting text. Need to finish it. Leader, The Healing Body. I took a class with this guy. His explanation of some of the major themes of this text seems like Dr. Leader has spent a lot of time thinking critically about himself and about the world. Body City here is an incredible text. I think this is super valuable to anyone who lives in a city, but especially anyone who lives in Baltimore. It's all about Baltimore. There's some really interesting things in here about the development of Baltimore and about the development of cities and Baltimore's history. That are super important to the world of today, and I would never have encountered if I hadn't read this book and hadn't taken this class. Fantastic. Yeah, I'd say a must-read for anyone who lives in Baltimore and cares about Baltimore. Below that, we have this really interesting comic book called The Portable Frank. I haven't read this in a long time, but there's some very imaginative and absurd kind of stuff. I also got this at the Locust Moon Comics Festival, and while it might not be visually so much in the vein of Winsor McKay, I think it fits the kind of Little Nemo theming of that festival. And the last there, I have Untold Truths, a really interesting collection of student works published by my university regarding the school's historical connection to slavery. Here we have Malcolm X's autobiography, which I still need to read, embarrassingly. And then I have here Memories of a Revolutionist. This is Peter Kropotkin's autobiography. I've read a portion of this. I'm really putting it off. It's interesting, but sometimes kind of hard to keep myself engaged with it. He talks a lot about his childhood, but it's a really interesting text. Here we have a book that I recently added to the shelf and I have not read, but it is the famous American-Born Chinese. Back to this line on the shelf, we have Death Note, classic. It's a lot of people's firsts. It's a good one. Great from start to finish. Even the post-L stuff is really exciting, I think, even if the first half is definitely better, but fantastic ending. Hunter x Hunter, brilliant, respected, for good reason. Super fun, super smart, super entertaining. Genshiken, this was a series recommended to me by my girlfriend as a member of a college anime club. It's really fun to read, really interesting kind of picture of 90s and 2000s anime culture too. And you can just tell how involved in that culture the author was as well. Fantastic, incredibly detailed art, super compelling relationships. The first half is definitely better, but the second half with the Madarame harem stuff is still very fun and unique. even if the ending is like crazy disappointing. Should have gone with Hato. Here I have a collection in Japanese of Haruka Ishikawa's shorts, some of her shorts. I've read most of her one-shots online, and then I found this book and wanted to collect them. So there's some really great ones in here. Her artwork is so delicate and beautiful and interesting. Land of the Lustrous is one of my favorites, though I sadly don't own it physically yet. I am a fool. Here we enter the in Japanese section of the shelf too. Here is a volume of the Seven Deadly Sins, of which I haven't read in a long time, but it's certainly a fun read, and I was really into it when I was in middle school. D. Gray Man, again. I picked these up along with Seven Deadly Sins on a trip to Japan. I went with my grandmother, which was incredible, really fun and interesting, really fun trip, and I will never forget. But that was like peak D. Gray Man phase for me. So I got the first and the 23rd. I also got some other merchandise because it was around the time when the anime was coming out, the new anime D. Gray Man Hollow was coming out. And then I have here 25 and 26. I purchased those around their release. Here we have Pokemon Red, the first volume of the Pokemon manga series, which is great. A lot of people speak to how good it is. Really fun. Has a lot of respect for Pokemon, but keeps its identity very unique and distinct from both the games and the TV show. The beginning stuff is probably my favorite. The Yellow Saga was my favorite portion of it, but it's all great. All that I've read of it is great. Then we have Case Study of Vanitas and Pandora Hearts right here, both by Jun Mochizuki. Case Study of Vanitas I really want to catch up to. I see a lot of screenshots from later parts of it, but it's a fun read with a beautiful setting. Pandora Hearts is a series that has some kind of like goofy stuff, but it also has a lot of really compelling and charming characters and a central mystery that is pretty great to read along. Above that, I have 2 volumes of Category Freaks, which I picked up for like real cheap at a thrift store. I have yet to read either of these, but they seem incredibly edgy. I've never seen this series posted anywhere else, but it seems like something I would have loved in 8th grade, and I was kind of wanting that at the time, so I have them. I'll get to them soon. A wonderful and ever-beloved Yokohama shopping log. Really happy that this is finally getting published officially in English in the States. It's great. Deserves all the love it gets. Fantastic art. Creates such a like wonderful and comfy and whimsical vibe in its post-apocalyptic setting. I don't know, such a unique kind of interpretation of the world's dying days as well. So just confident, it feels. Then we have The Music of Mary, which is an interesting manga about religion, all contained in this volume. Sometimes it feels very like anti-religion, but then there are comments made in like the authors section that made it feel like this is very like pro-finding God. Interesting arc, unique read. I recommend it. We have here the Sound Euphonium light novel, which I haven't read, but I love Sound Euphonium. It's one of my favorites. The anime just finished with a kind of disappointing ending, but it's built off of a lot of fantastic stuff in the 3rd season. It's pretty great, I thought, otherwise. Scott Pilgrim is perfect, a recent read of mine. Really entertaining. Feels really great watching these characters find themselves, find their mistakes, and grow from them. The movie and the anime are both great too. I totally lied also. I was totally just wrong. I do have Land of the Lustrous here. Yeah, it's great. It's great. You should totally read it right now. Golden Kamuy, I just finished not too long ago. This series has a bibliography at the end. A fantastic and incredibly entertaining blend of like historical drama and then also some of just the most like absurd classic like anime manga antics that you could ever find. It'll somehow like keep this grand, sprawling, kind of violent narrative, and then blend in these like absurd, goofy comedy stuffs without ever like destroying your interest in the overarching mystery. One of my favorite main antagonists too in anything. Captain Harlock, Leiji Matsumoto is a legend, and I haven't read any of his stuff. I still haven't read this book. I'll read it soon though. And now we have the final level of the shelf, which I'll kick off here right outside of the shelf with this great book that I got as another gift from my godparents, which is a collection of photos and information about Lee Friedlander, who is maybe my favorite photographer of all time. Fantastic work in there. An interesting mix of his famous stuff, the stuff that he's known for, the style that has made his work resonate with so many people, and then kind of like forgotten projects and like random stuff that is very interesting to look at alongside his catalog. Some really like interesting and surprising portraiture in here too. It's cool. It's a great book. Really, really, really cool. And right up here, we have 4 books that I purchased when I was traveling to Paris on a school trip for a Maymester abroad with my girlfriend Sophie and my good friends Allie and Elizabeth and lots of other cool people. Up top here, first we have Witch Hunter, which is a series that I read in middle and high school and reminded me a lot of D. Gray Man. It's a cool book. I never really found any of it in the States, so I was super happy to see that in Paris, and that kind of defines a lot of the Paris section of the shelf. Next, I have Volume 4 of Whistle, which is one of the first manga that I ever read, alongside Leave It to Pet and the Pokemon Adventures manga. Super fun soccer series, really extreme, but with good character moments and interesting plot lines. Maybe my favorite protagonist in any sports series. He's not really, like, incredible for, like, the entire thing, you know? And probably my favorite play on the whole, like, short guy as the main character trope in shonen sports manga. Got me really into soccer as a kid for a brief period. I didn't really keep up that hobby. And then I have the Patlabor manga. I haven't read any of the Patlabor manga. This is also in French, but I was really into the Patlabor OVA and movies at the time. Lots of great expressions. And then, last of the French collection, the final volume of Ranma 1/2. I just like this cover a lot. I like having this kind of variation of it. It's a nice one to kind of complete the collection too. Have the beginning and the end. Yeah. From there, I have a variety of volumes of One Piece. One Piece was one of the series that really, really sucked me into anime and manga when I first discovered it when I was like 8 years old. I've been reading it since I was 8, and I'm caught up today. I've switched to mostly reading it digitally, but I still try to pick up volumes every once in a while. I got 100, because of course, have to get 100. One Piece lives up to the hype. I'm more of a pre-time skip fan than I am a post-time skip fan. I love the grandiose nature of it, the feelings of adventure, and how just sincerely funny it is. I also have this book here, another from my trip to Japan, which I'm very grateful towards my grandmother for. I bought this book at the One Piece Tokyo Tower gift shop, and I thought it was an art book. The owner, or the salesperson, tried to convince me that it was not an art book, but the language barrier didn't really let that land with me, so I have this book that's just written about One Piece. I think it's like analysis and stuff. But still, that's a fun memory, and this is cool to hold. I then have this no-face sticker, this paper. The True Believer, a book that I've yet to read, but I picked up at a cool bookstore in Philly. Osama Desai's No Longer Human, which I've not read. Also, The Master Plan by Chris Wilson. This book is great. One of the first books I read for college. Super moving and inspiring. A really moving and valuable text. The Elements of Style. This is a gift from my grandmother that I also sadly have not read. And then Anarchist Education and the Modern School. Another book that I've only read a little bit of, but I want to read more. I'm going to get to some of these this summer. Continuing along the line of the rest of the shelf, we have Shaman King, which I actually do own every volume of the original run of Shaman King, but a lot of them are on my Nook. Similar case with a lot of the One Piece volumes I own. But yes, I own every volume of Shaman King. Shaman King, another hugely important series to me, and it still holds up a lot. I've reread a little not too terribly long ago.
is an extremely fun series and has influenced a lot of my art, particularly when I was younger, I think. Great work, great work. Still remember a lot of it very, very fondly. Above that, I have some more books stacked here. On top of that pile is maybe the most important thing I own here, which is Give & Take's Red Man Comics collection. As you can see here, it is a comic using the same panel structure, just changing the setup and ending with the same punchline like every single time with some slight variation on that. Really funny. Gets funnier the longer you read it. Part of it is just funny because you recognize it, and that's charming in and of itself to see this thing again. But also, she's just a really witty writer and has some great, great puns. Below that are 3 copies of a magazine at my school, which I am a contributor to and an editor of. Awesome series, but I won't show too much. Below that is my Road to Radcon book, something I own that has not aged gracefully. I was a big fan of the Procrastinators podcast over quarantine, and I regret some of the time I've spent on that because I didn't agree with many things that they said then, and I think as much as some of those creators have influenced me and the stuff that I'm interested in and the stuff that I like to draw and make, and the ways that I think about art, a lot of them are just kind of like not very good people, you know? But still, this is pretty funny, and is kind of a relic of a bygone era. Great art in here too. Then I have here another book by Give & Take, The Lord of Ghosts, her great comic series about endless war, but made very accessible to people who don't know what that is and don't play that, because I certainly didn't play that. Give & Take, one of those people from the podcast that I still really respect and value her work and her comedy. She is awesome. Here's a comic that I don't actually own. I borrowed this from my sister. The artwork is really cool. And here are 2 books, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and Watership Down, the graphic novel version, both of which I received as a birthday gift from my great aunt and uncle. Here is kind of a pile of stuff. I have this benefit comp record, a benefit for Ukraine band together, which I was involved in the creation of the cover art and providing music for, but is a really wonderful project that I will link to down below. You can still support it. I have 2 CDs piled up here. I have Jeff Rosenstock's We Cool, which is a fantastic record by one of my favorite artists, and then Fresh Fruit for Rotten Vegetables by the Dead Kennedys, another favorite of mine. I got this because it has some photos of the band, but sadly they're like not that great. Still, fantastic album. Then I have a bunch of blank CDs and a box of CD cases. I like to burn CDs. Behind that I have another volume of Yotsuba in Japanese, and then I have a spin-off comedy manga that my girlfriend got me about Ava, which is one of the greatest television programs of all time. And this book is really, really funny. And I have Berserk, because you gotta own Berserk. First volume isn't my favorite, but it's the starting point to a great series. And I have here a collection of Tatsuki Fujimoto one-shots, including some of the best of his. I think there were 2 books of these published. This one had more of my favorites. I've read, I think, all of them. Now we have Billy Bat, all in Japanese, that I got as a gift from my father from his tour in Japan. Billy Bat is the best Naoki Urasawa series. I got my grandpa to read some of it, except he read like these. Or he cannot read any Japanese, any form of written Japanese, or understand spoken Japanese. So he would kind of just guess based on the pictures and ask me questions. Sometimes he was right. Then we have An Invitation from a Crab, this really wonderful, kind of absurdist and abstract slice of life series about this androgynous character's kind of meanderings around their neighborhood. Has a really intense nostalgic feeling to it. I feel like most people would be able to connect with this one. The artwork is incredible also. I got this one as a recommendation from Manga Mondays back when Trixie was doing that series. And then here, to close off my bookshelf tour, well, there's this piece of trash also, but Uzumaki by Junji Ito, which is great. Everyone loves it. Everyone should love it.
And yes, that's the total of my bookshelf. That's a slice of where I am right now, of who I am right now. Thank you for watching.